Hopefully I
Oh,
pronounced that correctly. And Beth is from Denver, Colorado.
wow. I love Colorado. It's one of my favorite. I just love Colorado. I love the mountains. I love everything.
And Beth is from Denver, Colorado.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, I love.
Okay. Can you still hear me, everybody? Am I still?
Yes.
Okay, good. YouTube is going. So I never know what it shows on YouTube, but it's okay. I always like to, anybody who's following in a practitioner, they can also watch. It's more fun to be on Zoom, but if you're on YouTube, welcome also. So where else are people from?
And Vicky is from Orlando, the Orlando area in Florida.
That's a fun place. It's amazing what's happened to Orlando since since I was a little kid. It's really just grown into such an incredible place, so much more than Disney and all the amusement parks. It's really a thriving place now. So we have all over the place here. Any out of the country? Let's see. You grew up here. Wait, where did I grow up? Margie, you grew up here?
From
Question.
Orlando.
No,
She's
no, 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 no. I grew up in Spring Valley, New York. Born in Pittsburgh, but grew up in Spring Valley, New York. And I live in Morristown, New Jersey. No, but when I was a kid, we used to always go to Orlando, and it's changed. And my kids, they're in their 30s now, and my in-laws, everybody lived in Florida. And I had two young boys and they were like lunatics. So we'd visit my in-laws and they were running around like maniacs when they were young. And so we found if we went to the parks first, we went to Disney, we went to whatever, they were like wiped. So we did that every single year. But I've seen when I've gone back recently what's happened to Orlando. It's amazing. I mean, it's just incredible. But no, I didn't grow up there. But it is funny. People used to feel sorry because I have three kids sort of close in age. So we'd have like two strollers, and people are like, "Are you out of your mind? Like, what are you doing?" Those were the days. They're all grown up now. But can anyone relate to that with Disney taking kids there? You can read, Paul. I have to warn you, I always have trouble. We have people reading. I can make it big and I can see.
okay. I can read.
Oregon, nice. Lived in Dallas, right? Is that what that says? Oh, no, no,
Yes.
Dallas, Davis, near Sacramento. Yeah, great.
And Erin is from St. Augustine, Florida. And Tish is from Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada.
Yeah, we get a lot of Canada. Oh, hi, Sandy. I know Sandy. Well, welcome. Yeah, you're welcome to show your video. And that's Risa, is that right? Yes, Risa. Hi, welcome. And let's see. I should really wear glass. Oh, Vicky. Hi, Vicky. Good color. I'm very into pinks. I was going to wear pink, but well, see, Dr. Millman and I'm very curious because we never discuss it beforehand. But I would say, what do you think, Paula? 70% of the time we're like in identical color.
Yes.
We never say it all. Now, I can't let anyone's note taking because it just ruins the recording. I'm sorry for people, but you will get the recording, so don't worry. But I've learned when I say yes to anybody's note taker, it just sort of messes up the recording. So, not to be mean or anything, but you will get the recording, so don't worry. No worries here at all. So, Vicky, so excited. Vicky's Vicky's coming to our program. Yay! Paula, meet Vicky. You'll see a lot of Vicky. Paula, for everyone
Vicky.
here, Paula is Dr. Millman, my assistant, who does everything, like beyond everything. We couldn't do anything without her. So you'll see a lot of her.
Let's see, we got a couple more in the chat. Candy is from Alaska, and Linda is from Chicago, and Risa is from Connecticut.
Oh, Paula, send Dr. Millman the link.
Oh, okay. Yes,
I'm
I will do
on
that right now.
it. Let's see. Michigan. Oh, yeah. Right. So we're really reaching the United States all over the place and some Canada. Yeah, I'm always amazed sometimes. That's the thing. I do all my work online pretty much. And so you get like such an incredibly large community, which is just so amazing to me. And it's really fun. More Canada. Well, I mean, we're California. We're going to start in a minute once Dr. Millman comes. So is it nice where you guys are living now? It's really, it turned nice. Yesterday it was beautiful 2 days ago, like 90 here in New Jersey. Then it got really cold and damp, but now it's like looks sort of sunny. A little cold, but nice. How about in the other areas, California, Colorado? Has it been nice? You can just write in the chat. 78?
78?
That
That
sounds
sounds
pretty. Ooh, why is
why
this?
is this?
Maybe someone
Maybe
else.
someone else
We'll mute
will meet
you.
you.
Sorry, sorry. Hey,
Hey,
Dr.
Dr.
Millman.
All right, well,
We're
we're
still
still
colors.
colors.
Mute
Mute
everyone for
everyone for
let me just
let me
make
just make
sure.
sure. Let me see. Oh, can you
Okay,
make
okay.
me and
And
Margine, I'll
Margine,
mute.
I'll mute. Is
Is
everybody on mute?
everybody on mute?
Oh
No.
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 Okay, mute
Okay, mute
everybody.
everybody.
Oh,
Oh,
I feel
yes,
yes,
please.
you co-host and Dr. Millman, your co-host. So everybody, I'm like, oh no, I don't have any other things on. Okay, okay. All right, so
All right, so
mute.
mute.
Just make sure.
Just make sure.
Tell me when
Tell
it.
me when it.
That never
That
happened.
never happened.
Do you
Do
guys
you
hear
guys
that?
hear that? Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, I'll leave and come back. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, now that's
Now
not.
that's not. Well, Debbie, I think you're the one that we're getting the feedback on, so I muted you.
Okay. All right. Great. No problem. Okay, good. I was like, what's going on? You never know, right, Dr. Millman and Paula, and I mean, everyone else who does work online, you just have to go with the flow because you never know. You just don't know what could happen. It's so crazy, but all good. I never let things like this throw me over. Okay, should we give everyone another minute? What do you think, Dr. Millman? Well, before we get started?
Yeah, sure. Maybe a couple minutes. Yeah, I actually had a little hard time myself finding the link. So
Okay, we'll give everybody a couple minutes. And everyone, for whoever who comes in new, just write in the chat where you're from. And if you want to write what type of practitioner, it's always fun to see because we have all sorts of people coming. And for every, I haven't turned it on yet, the recording here, but I will before we get started. We'll just give like 2 more minutes. What did it say? Oh, raining here. Where's that? Where's it raining?
here.
Oh, is it? Oh, it's nice here now.
Yeah.
Usually it's freezing here, and Dr. Millman's nice and sunny in California.
Oh, Helena is in Australia and
Oh,
Alberta,
oh, wow.
Canada, Nancy, Virginia Beach. Hi, Suzanne. Laura is a retired RN. Debbie's in California. What part of Debbie or California, Debbie? Yeah, in Fremont. Yeah, here in San Jose too.
Great.
We drove to Santa Cruz this morning and it was raining in Santa Cruz. Carlsbad? Yeah, I've
You
been
know
there.
what happened here? It's so crazy. It's really crazy for those people that live in the East Coast. I don't know if you've seen the same thing. Like instantly, the trees have bloomed. It's green and buds are out, but it happened so fast. Does anyone else happen like so fast? I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it this year. I was just in the woods. Where I live, there's like a really great path. And like all of a sudden, within a day, all of a sudden it's green. It's so exciting.
Linda's always sunny in Scottsdale.
Mhm. Oh, I love Scottsdale. So much fun.
I went to Scottsdale High.
Oh,
There's no longer a Scottsdale High. I went to Scottsdale High in Chaparral and ASU.
okay. I say we give it like 1 more minute and we
I'm
start.
an Arizona girl.
Well, one of my favorite places, I don't think I've told you this, Dr. Mann, one of my favorite places on really in the whole country is Sedona. I don't know who's been there.
I've been.
Right? Is it not magical? I just don't know what's in the air there. There's not one person unhappy in that place. It's true. They talk about the vortexes and I'm a big energy person, but there really is different energy there. It is just
Energy's amazing there.
right.
Beautiful.
Funny because I brought my son there, and he's not really an energy person at all. When he was younger, he's like, "Mom, you're onto something here." It really is incredible. All
I
right,
went to ASU too.
wow.
Yeah, I think there has to do so much of that red rock clay in one
Yeah,
place.
they say that there's all these different reasons, but it's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's a really special place. But
I used to
anyway,
live in New Mexico too. That was a magical place.
all right, I
Oh,
say
it's
begin.
very
What do you
pretty.
think?
It's very pretty.
We have a lot of stuff we're gonna do. Are you ready to
Who
start?
is WITB anyway?
Okay, are you ready to start?
I'm absolutely ready to start.
Okay. Well, what I'm gonna do, I'm
Oh,
gonna
Wendy. Hi, Wendy.
pin you. I'm gonna pin me.
I'm going to mute everyone.
Okay, I'm going to hit record. Okay, let me just make sure I don't mess this up. Um, okay. Okay. Welcome everybody to our webinar, Essential Lab Testing, Discover the Full Picture of Bone Loss. And I am so excited that you're here because osteoporosis and osteopenia are so prevalent. These diagnoses they're more prevalent than cancer, they're more prevalent than heart disease, but yet so few people really understand the best way to take care of it and to help all of these women who are struggling. It's so upsetting, but yet the good part is that there's so much that can be done. And so that's why both Dr. Millman and I have made this our mission. We've been working for years, the two of us together. I've been working over 30 years. How about you, Dr. Millman? What, 17 now?
18.
Yeah. Yeah. So the two of us have been working with people with osteopenia and osteoporosis for a very long time. And the good news, this integrative approach, which we're going to talk about tonight, truly works. And it is just one of the most gratifying things that you can do. So that's why we're so excited that you're here, because as practitioners, you can make such a difference in the lives of your clients and patients. And even if you take away one piece of this webinar, it will change people's lives, and that's what's just so exciting. So, for those who don't know me, I'm Margie Bissinger. I'm a physical therapist, integrative health coach. I also teach happiness, and as I said, I've been working with patients with osteopenia and osteoporosis for over 30 years. And the good news, as I said, is there's so much that can be done. And I'm also I've done 4 summits on natural approaches to osteoporosis and bone health. Each one, we had over 60,000 people attend. And I have a podcast, Happy Bones, Happy Life. And with Dr. Millman, we co-founded the Bone Health Academy and started the Certified Integrative Bone Health Practitioner program, which we'll tell you about later. So that's my story. Dr. Millman, you want to fill them in on what you've done, which is quite amazing.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Kim Millman, and I am an integrated physician, and I have a private practice in Los Gatos, California. I have been working with people with bone loss and have the specialty for 18 years. Um, excuse me. I also founded a group program called Restore and Rebuild 100 Days to Healthier Bones. And we have almost 200 people in that for this cohort. And then that makes the number of people that have attended R&R all the way up to 750 people now. And it's been going for a year and a half. And so that's really gratifying. And then what we were finding, both Margie and myself, was that um, bringing R&R to people outside of the state of California, because I can only see those in California one-on-one, was really empowering to people. We I mean, I felt very gratified seeing the kinds of transformations people were having, but some people needed more. They needed help interpreting their labs more than what we could do in a group setting. They needed help with protocols. And so I just felt like some people were really being left behind. And that was really heartbreaking for me. And so then I came to Margie and told her that, I just think that we need to up the level and that we need to start training practitioners to do this work so that we can have a huge ripple effect and really help to reverse this crisis that we're seeing. So many people with bone loss and not enough people to help them.
Yeah, so that's the exciting thing, that anything you learn today, this is what we found. Knowledge is power. And unfortunately, in the system, this just isn't available. People don't have the time, whatever it is. People are, unfortunately, the women, it's sad. They want to help themselves. They don't know where to turn. There's such confusing information. And so we can really make a difference. And that's, oh my gosh, it's just been so rewarding when you see someone's life turned around because of what you've done. Okay, so what we're going to do, what we found out, there's different ways to do this webinar, but we actually found out that it was really helpful to do part of it pre-recorded, the actual lecture part, where Dr. Millman's going to go over the different testing that we do. And then we are going to be, while you're watching this, we are going to be live in the chat. So you can ask questions there. And then after the webinar, we're just going to give you a little information about our program and then Q&A. And so then you'll be able to ask your questions pertaining to the webinar, or if you have questions about the program. So do you want to say anything before we get started?
No, I just hope that you find this really clinically valuable. I'm hoping that you're going to take away a couple of things that you can actually use in your practice tomorrow. And remember that a lot of these interpretation ranges are actually bone specific ranges that took decades to develop and are really exclusive to the training that Margie and I provide and that I've been working with my entire career. So really, and also there's going to be a replay, so you don't have to take a lot of notes, and we'll get that out to you tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's one thing. So just sit back. There's a lot of information. Do not overwhelm is the enemy. So don't get overwhelmed like, oh no, you'll have the replay again. Take a few things you can start using with your clients, or, will make a big difference. Okay, so I am going to share my screen and I will play that. And we are in chat. So ask us anything you want while we're there. We found this was a really helpful way to do things. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, here we go. It's going to take a second just to do this. Okay, here we go. If there's any issue, Paula, let us know if it's not working, okay?
So what I'm going to do today
I
is
don't see the video.
essential.
Is it working, Paula?
No, I don't see the video, just
Start again then. Okay.
the screen with the
This
file
has been
name.
happening sometimes with Zoom. It takes twice. For some reason, you do it exactly perfectly, but that's okay.
I also feel like the volume is a little bit high.
Okay, we can turn that down. Okay, let's try again. Hang on. Okay, here we go. I'm going to stop it if there's actually, I'm not stopping. If there's any problem, just speak out, Paula, okay? Or Dr. Millman. Here we go. Okay.
Of tests that I
Let me
use in
start
my
from the beginning.
practice
Wait a minute.
and that are part of the root cause testing that I do in the integrative bone health method. And so above all, I would say that a trusted bone health expert must know how to interpret the bone turnover markers. And so in my practice, what I use is the C-telopeptide, and that is also called CTX, and this is a bone breakdown marker. And then I also use the propeptide of type 1 collagen, or P1NP. So these bone turnover markers are incredibly insightful as you get a really good sense of the real-time bone stability of your patients without having to get a DEXA scan. And you can monitor different therapies, and you can do this in between your DEXA scans to check and see how your therapies are working or not working, to see if you are in good shape or you need to change course. It's also very important for you to understand how to evaluate the parathyroid glands and whether or not they are over functioning, because if they are, this can cause very high amounts of bone breakdown. And so this is another very important part of being able to be a true bone health expert. And then also how to diagnose a renal leak. So renal leak is when the kidneys should be reabsorbing most of the calcium that are filtered through the blood. And when the kidneys don't reabsorb the calcium correctly, you will lose calcium in the urine, and you will see that as a high 24-hour urine calcium. So let's dive into bone turnover markers. And in my opinion, these are the most important tools in your toolkit. C-telopeptide, or CTX, again, measures how fast your bones are breaking down. And propeptide of type 1 collagen, or P1NP, measures how your bones are forming. They're both measured in the blood. And it's absolutely important that you know how to instruct your patients on how to do these tests, because otherwise they're inaccurate. And it's important to understand how to interpret their absolute values and how they compare to one another. Again, you can get a really good sense of where the person is as far as fracture risk, how emergent their situation is, what root causes could be in play by looking at which ones are elevated or which ones are too low. You can follow a natural treatment approach, or you can follow medications. And what I'm finding is that more and more of my patients know about these bone turnover markers, and they may start demanding that true bone experts know how to evaluate bone turnover markers. And so let's dive into, how do you determine how to instruct your patients adequately so that these bone turnover markers are accurate. So they must be done fasting. That means not any food after 8 p.m. the night before. They must be done as early in the morning as possible. And when you repeat these tests, have them done approximately at the same time each time. Because these markers are based on collagen breakdown fragments, your patient should not have collagen or bone broth or biotin within 48 hours of the test, and no strenuous exercise for 24 hours before. And I believe that one of the reasons that physicians think that these bone turnover markers are not accurate is that they don't know how to instruct their patients in how to do these correctly. Because what we see is there's a huge diurnal change in the bone turnover marker CTX. So it is highest at 5 a.m. in the morning, and it's lowest at 2 p.m. And there can be almost a 200-point difference between these times in the day. So if someone is measuring their CTX at 3 p.m. one day, and then 7 a.m. another time, then it's going to be very difficult to compare those values, and they are going to look inaccurate. The other thing is that the optimal ranges that you get from LabCorp and Quest is a huge range that goes all the way up to 1,000. And we know from clinical experience that the CTX should be much less than that. So let's dive into how to interpret your CTXs and P1NPs. So an optimal CTX should be between 250 and 350. And if you take away anything from the talk today, please remember that you must instruct your patients to get your CTX and P1NPs appropriately, and that CTX optimal range is from 250 to 350. In this range, most patients' bones will be stable. There is a gray area from 350 to 400 where some patients' bones will be stable and other patients will be losing bone, but above 400, most patients will be losing bone with a CTX of greater than 400. So please remember that that's going to be a great thing for you to know in your toolbox. And a CTX that's lower than 100 is actually a low turnover state. And so what this means is that, as you know, the bones are metabolically active. And so a bone with a CTX of less than 100, these patients typically have low metabolism. And then when we look at P1NP, the optimal value is from 30 to 80. And we also look at the ratio between CTX and P1NP that I'll mention in just a few minutes. But over 90, that means that the bones are forming very quickly. And when that's paired with a CTX that's high, that could be a compression fracture in the spine that's clinically silent. So we also look at the ratio between CTX and P1NP. So a typical ratio that we see is 1/10, the P1NP will be 1/10 of the CTX. So as an example, CTX is 350, a P1NP will typically be 35. And this would be a good ratio. This would be an optimal CTX, an optimal P1NP, and what I call an appropriate P1NP. So if the P1NP is much less than 1/10 of the CTX, then this could be an indication that there's some root cause factors that are involved that are interfering with bone formation. And this might be a nutrient deficiency, like an iron deficiency, or most often a protein deficiency will cause the P1NP to be low. Also lack of exercise, and also hormones like testosterone. And then if the CTX is too high, then we're looking at the root cause factors that would make the bones turn over too quickly. And so that would be a whole number of things like inflammation, gut dysbiosis, estradiol, lack of estrogen is huge in a postmenopausal woman, and high cortisol and stress. These all can cause the bones to be turning over too quickly. And again, we can use these bone turnover markers to monitor our therapies. So if a person is on medication, because medications act more quickly than a natural approach will, we typically look at the bone turnover markers at the 3-month point, whereas the natural approaches, since they take longer to kick in and see a difference, we look at them 6 and 9 months later. And when we look at the medications, to follow the medications, we want as an anti-resorptive, so the bisphosphonates and the Prolia, we want to primarily be focusing on the CTX because the anti-resorptives are going to reduce the CTX. And for the anabolics, the Forteo, Tymlos, and Evenity, we want to look at both. We want to see that P1NP has really risen. So if someone starts at a P1NP of 35, a good response would be if it doubles. And we want to look at that at about the 3-month period of time. And if you understand how to use bone turnover markers, you can really help your patients in a huge way. And again, I think that the more savvy patients now are really demanding that their practitioners know how to do this. And they're appropriately frustrated in practitioners who don't know this information. So we also want to rule out hyperparathyroid and renal leaks, because both of these situations to bone breakdown that's faster than normal, and actually bone breakdown that's very quick. And so in order to look at the function of the parathyroid glands, and as you remember, here's the butterfly shaped thyroid, and you've got these 4 little rice-sized glands that sit on top of the thyroid gland, and these are the parathyroids. They are our calcium sensors. And the way that we evaluate whether the parathyroids are working appropriately or if they're hyperfunctioning and that's going to cause increased bone breakdown is we measure the triad of calcium, intact parathyroid hormone, and 25-hydroxy vitamin D. So we also want to look at a renal leak. So I talked earlier about the fact that the kidneys need to reabsorb the calcium. And if they don't, if there's something intrinsically wrong with the kidneys, this is called a renal leak. And it will show up as a high 24-hour urine calcium. And we absolutely want to make sure that we measure the 24-hour urine calcium with no calcium supplementation taken for 3 days. So let's look at how this calcium sensor works. The first thing to do is when you look at your calcium levels in the blood, your calcium range for LabCorp, I think it goes down to 8.8, but really your low normal calciums at 9.2 is what's going to trigger a PTH to start to come up in order to get the bones to release more calcium into the blood to bring that level up. When this is happening, this could be because of calcium malabsorption. It could be happening because of diarrhea. It could be simply happening because of too low an intake of calcium in the diet and in food. People with gastric bypasses will often have secondary hyperparathyroidism because of calcium malabsorption. In this case, your vitamin D is going to be normal. This is really, the parathyroids are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're sensing that the calcium is low in the blood, and they are responding by increasing parathyroid in the blood. This is a normal response. When you see this, you're going to take care of the calcium problem. You also can have secondary hyperparathyroidism when you have low vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is less than 20 is what really usually triggers this kind of a thing. You're going to have a normal calcium, and basically the parathyroids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're going to be making more PTH to bring more calcium into the blood. What you want to do to rectify this is take care of the vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D toxicity, when it truly is in a toxic range, and usually this has to be above 100 nanograms per mil, 120 nanograms per mil, you'll actually see the calcium in a toxic range, which would be greater than 10. So you're going to see that combination of high calcium, high vitamin D, and the PTH should go low to low normal. And that's what you're going to see with vitamin D toxicity. But what we're really looking for here, we're trying to finesse this, and we're trying to figure out what the situation is with this calcium sensor. Is it working? Is it not working? But what we're really looking for is primary hyperparathyroidism. This is when there could be an adenoma or a tumor in the parathyroids, and the parathyroids are overworking, and this is going to cause more bone breakdown. So what we find is typically the calcium is over 10. Why is that? Because the parathyroids are working overtime. They are producing too much PTH, and they are not buffering a low calcium, so the calcium actually goes high. So we're looking for a high calcium, a normal vitamin D, and a high normal or high PTH. And this is going to show you that you've got primary hyperparathyroidism. And one thing that has been really rewarding to me is that I've had many patients where they've had primary hyperparathyroidism, and many doctors have missed this, especially because of the fact that doctors are looking for the calcium to go above the normal range at the LabCorp and Quest, which I believe is 10.2. They're also looking for the PTH to be high normal, but the PTH does not need to be high. The PTH can be just in the high normal range or the normal range because of the fact that it should be suppressed when calcium is high. So this is a really important concept. It's really important for you as you get to work more and more with people with bone loss, that you understand how to use these numbers and how to diagnose this, because it's a really huge problem that there's absolutely a gap in conventional care here. So also, we want to look at a renal leak. This is where the kidneys are not holding on to the calcium, so the body is losing calcium despite the fact that it shouldn't be. And so we're looking at the number of milligrams of calcium per 24 hours. And for men, anything over 300, and for women, anything over 250 milligrams of calcium is suspicious for a renal leak. And high 24-hour urine calcium is called hypercalciuria. And what we do in medicine is when we find a renal leak, we put people on the diuretic hydrochlorothiazide. And this can be problematic because you might have, typically think about your population with people with bone loss. You typically have thinner women who tend to have low blood pressure. So they don't tolerate a diuretic like hydrochlorothiazide. It makes them dizzy because their blood pressure goes too low. So there are other reasons for hypercalciuria besides having a renal leak, and probably one of them is what we just talked about, which is hyperparathyroidism. So with hyperparathyroidism, you have high calcium in the blood, and that calcium spills over into the urine. So anytime you have a high bone turnover state, you could have hypercalciuria. Probably the most common reason for hypercalciuria is a metabolic acidosis. This means that the body has an acidic state, and this could be caused from like high intensity exercise, where there's a lot of lactic acid that's being produced, and this lactic acid is increasing the acidic state, or the person has a particularly high acidic diet. They are having a lot of detoxification processes that are going on. This is producing metabolic waste that tends to be acidic. So in this case, this is most likely what is happening when the 24-hour urine calcium is high. And what we do is we look at the urine pH, the first morning urine pH. And we want it to not be 5.5 to 6.0. We want it to be more like 6.5 to 7. And when it is low, 5.5 to 6.0, you can give medium potassium dosed electrolytes. And I've seen the first morning pH get rectified with electrolyte treatment in as little as 2 weeks. And then when I follow up with a 24-hour urine calcium, that again normalizes as well. Now, when you have high vitamin D, remember high vitamin D can cause high calcium. When the high calcium is there, it can spill over into the urine. So we also monitor our essential bone nutrients, and we're really looking at the minerals like calcium, magnesium, potassium. We're looking at vitamin D. Unfortunately, the minerals in the blood are not a good reflection of the tissue levels. And so I don't do much else as far as blood mineral level testing. I'm also looking at the B vitamins, and as a surrogate marker for B vitamin deficiency, we can look at the MCV, which is the width of the red blood cell. And when it's high, it's B12 folate deficiency. When it's low, it's iron deficiency. And we can look at homocysteine, which is a surrogate marker for B12 folate. And so these can be especially helpful. And when you have a high homocysteine level, you're at higher risk for fractures. Also, oxalates, which are these tiny little plant-based crystals that can look like little shards of glass. And these crystals can embed themselves in any tissue in the body. They can cause pain, they can cause inflammation, and they deplete the essential minerals and vitamins that the bones need. So oxalates can be a problem if a person has a high oxalate diet or they have many symptoms of oxalate toxicity. And in those cases, I would recommend a 24-hour urine oxalate or a 24-hour citric acid level. And it's getting more difficult to get these tests. LabCorp and Quest used to offer them, and LabCorp has stopped offering the 24-hour citric acid, and I believe oxalates as well. So you have to get them through Quest now. So, of course, we look at the gut. We look at the gut for a root cause, because any gut dysbiosis and other processes in local inflammation in the gut, and increase in intestinal permeability in the gut can cause systemic inflammation, and systemic inflammation can affect the bones. So I like a stool test called the GI map. There are several different kinds of stool tests. This is the one I prefer. We can look at friendly versus unfriendly bacteria. We can look at other intestinal markers that I especially like the ability to digest fats, to digest proteins, inflammation, and leaky gut. And I encourage all of my patients to get a GI map, but when do they especially need it? Well, if they have digestive complaints. And absolutely anybody with autoimmune disease, my first thing that I do is I go to the gut. So here's some screenshots of your GI map results panel. So this is your commensal or your friendly flora. And you don't, this is like a Goldilocks phenomenon. You don't want them too low and you don't want them to be high, so you want them to be in the green. Faecalibacterium prausnitzkii, this is a this is a butyrate producer. So this is especially important. Akkermansia muciniphila helps the mucus layer of the gut. And so we're looking at bifidobacterium. We're really looking across the board. Does that patient have good diversity in their commensals? And then we look at opportunistic overgrowth in your microbes. And not only do I look at what organisms are here, but I also look at their quantitative difference from the reference. So this is scientific notation. So we've got E to the 7 compared to E to the 4, which is E to the 3. So this is 1,000, basically 1,000 times higher Pseudomonas level than is expected for the reference range. And we've got a section that is that are different bacteria that are more important for inflammatory and autoimmune reactions. And this person has a high Klebsiella. This is one of the sections that I love the most in the GI map. So the steatocrit is the amount of fat that is in the stool. You shouldn't have any fat in the stool. And remember, the fat-soluble vitamins are so important for the bones, vitamin K, vitamin D, even vitamin E. And so this can be a reason why patients can't break down their fat-soluble vitamins. So this is especially important for the bones. You shouldn't have any steatocrit, and DL means did not detect. Elastase, when it's low, it refers to the amount of digestive enzyme capacity, and this can be especially evident for protein metabolism. So this person would need some extra digestive enzymes. Beta-glucuronidase is really quite interesting because when we go through the detoxification in the liver, especially for hormones and toxins, we put a glucuronate molecule on that toxin. And what beta-glucuronidase does is it comes and cleaves off the glucuronate and it makes that toxin recirculate. So it's a retoxifier of hormones and of toxins, and it's produced by the bacteria. So the way to get beta-glucuronidase down is to treat the overgrowth. You can see how much blood there is. Secretory IgA is like your little army of their immunoglobulins. They're especially important for hollow organs. And of course, the gut is a hollow organ. So in this case, this patient's secretory IgA was low. This is a reaction to gliadin or wheat. This is an allergic reaction. Calprotectin is inflammation. In my patients with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, this can be as high as 1,000 or in the thousands. So this is measuring at pinging it in the red at a level of 173. If you see that really high, think about ulcerative colitis and inflammatory bowel disease. And zonulin is a leaky gut marker. And so you can see the zonulin in the stool. And when it's high, it's an indication that there could be leaky gut. Of course, I like to see the leaky gut markers in the blood because that's an absolute indication that you've got some translocation of proteins. So I look at food sensitivities and intestinal permeability as being huge root causes. We have celiac disease as a huge root cause for leaky gut, or it is a root cause for leaky gut, but for bone loss as well. So in my opinion, everyone needs to be screened for dairy and for gluten and for intestinal permeability. And so I like the Vibrant America Zoomers. Also, Cyrex has some assays that are very sensitive and specific like the Zoomers, but the Zoomers are less expensive than Cyrex. And so I like all of my patients to get at least wheat and dairy, but also if people have digestive issues or autoimmune disease, I'm really encouraging a person to get the food sensitivities. And so this is an example of a Zoomer result. And this is the peptide level sensitivity. This is the most sensitive of the technology. And so this person has a high dairy sensitivity and a high wheat sensitivity and a medium intestinal permeability. So blood sugar and insulin resistance can both increase the risk of fractures. So not only do we do a hemoglobin A1C and a fasting glucose, but we also do a fasting insulin, a HOMA-IR, and a triglycerides to HDL ratio. And I always like my patients to be getting this at least once a year. And if they have some issues with their blood sugar, to remeasure them after 3 months. Continuous blood glucose monitors are really readily available these days, and more patients are getting these. And I think they are very, very helpful because they can give you a real-time indication of what foods are increasing a person's blood sugar. And they're really important in being able to see whether some of the blood sugar hacks, like having apple cider vinegar or walking after a meal, or having fiber first, or combining fiber, fats, and proteins with carbohydrates, whether that actually makes a difference and how much of a difference does it make. So of course you can consider this if your patients have any abnormal blood sugar parameters or any symptoms of blood sugar instability, and this would especially be irritability or headaches or fatigue or anxiety and sleep issues. Of course, inflammation is a root cause of bone loss, and we look at the highly sensitive CRP, and we want this to optimally be less than 1. And inflammation should, and I believe that highly sensitive CRP should be done at least once a year and then followed over time to follow a treatment strategy if they're abnormal. More than that, we want to make sure that there's not hyperthyroidism, because that can break down the bones more quickly. So we look at a TSH and we make sure that that TSH is not less than 0.5. Hormone testing. So one of the big game changers in my patients' bone health is hormone therapy. And not everybody needs to get hormone therapy, but some people are very interested in it. And I think that everyone should get some hormone testing at a baseline. And so I'm often doing that as a baseline and to monitor strategies. So if they're interested in hormonal therapies, I am absolutely monitoring their hormones. And if they have some symptoms of low hormones like brain fog, insomnia, hot flashes, and achiness. So there's many options in how to measure hormones. You can measure them in the blood. This is the least expensive. It's really good for following hormones, and many insurances will cover them. It's absolutely imperative in a postmenopausal woman that you get a sensitive estradiol, because it's a regular estradiol is not going to pick up very low levels of estrogen. And in a woman, you want to get a sensitive testosterone because you're looking for low levels of testosterone, and you want to get a DHEA sulfate. You can also measure hormones in the saliva. So this is good for baseline. It also comes with cortisol. It's not good for following hormones. And I get the ZRT Female Hormone Panel 3. Dried urine is the most expensive, the most comprehensive, and it's good for following hormones. And I get the Dutch Plus. So here is an example of a result of a ZRT Female Hormone Panel. And so your optimal is the green line, and your red lines are low and high. And so in this patient, she has a low normal estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, and a low DHEAS. This is an example of a Dutch Plus. So we have the purple band is the postmenopausal range. The yellow star is the first part of the premenopausal range to the end. And so in this patient, we have a postmenopausal or low estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone, and a low DHEA. Absolutely, high cortisol, it acts just like prednisone in the bones, and stress is such an important quality of life destroyer. It is a major contributor to illness and decreased quality of life. And so especially consider this if you have an anxious patient who comes in and saying, I'm stressed out all the time, I'm a caregiver. These kinds of things where you would highly encourage your patients to get cortisol testing. And really the gold standard is saliva. So both of these are saliva, the ZRT Panel 3, least expensive, easiest to interpret, the Dutch, most expensive. And what is great about the Dutch is that you get a cortisol awakening response. And this is a stress resiliency marker, and it is an indication of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis function. And this is the brain talking to the adrenals. Here's an example of a ZRT cortisol example. You've got the green optimal line. You've got a low at noon and a low normal in the afternoon, and at midnight, it's actually pinging a bit high. So the high cortisol is what can break down the bones and at night cause sleeplessness. Here's a Dutch Plus example. This is the car. So we have the Awakening plus 30, and the Awakening plus 60. The optimal value should be midway between these dots. So here we have a rise, we have a fall. That is a good car. This person's car has a nice rise, but stays elevated. So this is a hypersympathetic state, and this person could be anxious, irritable, and have sympathetic dominance, and a slightly high normal night cortisol, which can cause insomnia. This is a different pattern, which is a flat pattern. This flat pattern shows that there is HPA dysfunction and that the brain is not adequately talking to the adrenals, and there's cortisol resistance. Risk factors for cardiovascular disease are similar to those that we see in bone loss. In fact, even hypertension and high lipids are shared risk factors, likely through oxidative stress and inflammation, but you may be interested in getting some advanced cardiovascular lipid profiles and other profiles through the Cleveland Heart Labs. So genetic testing, the two biggest genetic components are lipoprotein A, LP little a, and ApoE. These are both trucks for your LDL cholesterol and for your triglycerides. So LP little a is not dependent upon lifestyle. It's really genetically determined. The higher it is, the higher the risk for cardiovascular events and mortality. ApoE is a combination of the alleles E2, E3, and E4, and it can tell you whether a person has a certain amount of response to saturated fats and whether they have a risk of having higher cholesterol for genetic reasons. It's good to dive deeper into your lipid profiles where you have a particle size and you have particle numbers. This will give you better risk analysis. And ApoB is another truck for your cholesterol and your triglycerides. So when plaque is initiated, you have to have oxidative stress. And F2 isoprostanes is a urine test that is the gold standard for measuring oxidative stress. And you don't just need LDL, but you need LDL to be oxidized in order to initiate plaque. And we can actually measure that. In order for plaque to grow, ADMA and SDMA, when they're high, indicate low nitric oxide. And then microalbumin indicates leaky blood vessels. And it also indicates endothelial dysfunction. So once plaque has initiated and it's grown, we have lab testing for vulnerable plaque. LPPLA2 measures the inflammation within the arterial wall, but it hasn't protruded out into the lumen yet. Myeloperoxidase is when the fissures happen and the collagen cap is breaking open and the plaque is actually protruding out into the lumen wall. Then you have blood clots and heart attack. These are very interesting because they are related to cardiovascular disease, but also to nutrition and the gut. So an omega check is looking at the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. So as you know, omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. You want to have a good omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. And this can indicate if a person is having enough fatty fish or enough fish oil in supplementation. TMAO is something that is the precursor is produced by gut bacteria. It is converted to TMAO in the liver, and this has cardiovascular implications, and it also indicates dysbiosis. So this is a very interesting cardiovascular marker.
Okay, a lot of information, everybody. Dr. Millman, that was just so good. And can everybody hear me here? Paula, can we hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. Okay, so that's a lot of information. Don't worry, it's not something that you have to learn this minute. But what we're going to do now, before we get started, Dr. Millman and I are here to answer your questions pertaining to this webinar. But before that, we just want to tell you a little bit about our program. For those people who this is really striking an interest, like, wow, I want to help these people. Because as you see, there's so much that can be done. That's what's so really exciting. That's the good thing. When you look at these root causes, when you do this type of testing, you can figure out what's underneath the bone loss. And then when you treat it and do all the components, people get better. And it's so good. Okay, so I'm going to also just share I'm going to just share slides for a minute. And I'm going to just take you through a few pieces. Dr. Millman, I'm putting you on as well, so that if you want to say anything while we're going through these, you can too. So I'm just going to share my screen. Paula, you let me know if there's any issue here. And
Okay.
I'm going to, okay, we'll share the screen, bring up the slides. Is there, okay, great. Let me just
We're
change.
good.
We're
I can
good,
see him.
okay. I want to, okay, so let me just do this so you can see us. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm just going to pin Dr. Millman and I, so we'll be up here too. That's interesting. Oh, no, I guess that's okay. Hang on a second. I'm just doing this so the recording, some of you are on this. I'm just going to, okay, know what I'm doing? To stop it for 1 second, just so we have this good on there. Some people are showing up on this. It'll just take a second. Let me just change this to, oh, it's on speaker. That's interesting. I'm pinned and you're pinned. I'm not sure why other people are showing up. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just continue. Okay, let's share screen. Okay, hang on 1 second. Back to where I was. Okay, here we go. Okay. Oh no, that's not it. Here we go. Okay, let's move this over. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you about the program that we started in October. So we've had one cohort of practitioners go through it, and it's been just, right, Dr. Millman, way beyond our expectations. We were excited and we know how important this is, but we had no idea that it would just be that amazing. And we have so many incredible people that we've trained and who we've really gotten to know. But anyway, this is the program. It's called the Bone Health Academy, but the actual program is Certified Integrative Bone Health Practitioner Program. And, basically, we teach you the integrative approach that I can't take credit for, but Dr. Millman has spent 18 years creating. I've been part of this. But in terms of all this intense root cause testing, she's been doing this and seeing the results with her patients. So it actually, the funny thing is, years ago, I was the one that said to Dr. Millman, because I had summits and everyone's like, I want to work with Dr. Millman. And she could only see people in California. So could you create a course that you could help more people? And so she did. Then she approached me, Margie, our mission is bigger than this. We need to teach practitioners because the world is asking. I get asked constantly, please, do you have practitioners to refer? Because everybody can, wants more. Anyway, and basically to learn the root cause approach, how to assess all these things, and how to create personalized plans. That's sort of what we teach. And we give you, I think that one of the best parts of this is that we everything's evidence-based and it's done for you. So we already have the protocols put together. We have all the handouts for patients. So it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel. And basically, we go from knowledge, learn the whys, how to integrate. I know this was a lot today, but how to integrate the lab testing and then how to apply it. All right, someone has this. Well, what do I do? And depending upon, and everybody will use this in their own scope. So it might be different. We have physicians, we have nurse practitioners, we have nutritionists, we have health coaches. So we have people who are going to use things a little differently. But the key is that I really believed learning this, you can stand out as the bone health specialist. So many more clients, people are asking for this. This is what's so great. People, it's an underappreciated and underserved area. I sort of fell into this many years ago working as a physical therapist and realized, wow, there's just isn't out there. And so, people are really looking for this and so excited and so appreciative. That's what's really, I think, so much fun. And we have live mentorship programs. So small groups, we only are taking 30 people. That is it. Once it fills up, that's it. Because as you'll hear, we're going to have a couple practitioners just explain it to you what they've done. But, we really want each person to understand. And if the group is too big, we don't want that. We want a small group and everybody can learn and get the support they need. And so the goal is that, oh, we also teach communication so that you're able to communicate, you're able to educate, and you can build purpose in your business. And, so our goal with the certification, save time and energy. It's all done for you, build confidence, and, that you can establish credibility and stand out if this is a specialty you're interested in. So what's possible is you're the go-to bone health expert, you're recognized, you have really grateful clients, and you've done a lot of good in the world because this is so, so needed, and people are just so frustrated. And just a little bit, we go over nutrition. I'm a big person in mindset and happiness. For those who know me, I believe it's really a foundation. So that I teach that in the program. And as a bonus, you get my entire happiness program. So you can really learn, you'll become happier. And then when you're happier, it's things you can, it really makes a difference for your patients. But that's just part of it. Then exercises for bone health, 14 lessons on addressing the root cause. So you really get to understand root cause, what to do. And then we have one in depth about bone medication. So you'll understand when to use medications, when not. Not that you're going to be the person prescribing them, but it's very important that you have that knowledge, regardless of what you do, so that you can guide your patients appropriately. We also teach you, because a lot of people have never done online, they've never done one-on-one. It's very different how, the marketing, how to get the sales pay, all that. We teach the business aspect in part of this. And this is just, do you want to talk about this, Dr. Millman? This is just a little bit like of our schedule coming up.
Yeah, sure. So can you see my cursor? No, probably not, right?
Oh,
No.
I can move my cursor.
Okay. So you can see that we have curriculum. So that is a science curriculum that we drop weekly. And we also have the pre-sessions. The pre-sessions are called our turnkey data, and our turnkey is all about practice management. And so that is getting dropped weekly as well. And then we have practice in a box. So that includes business building. So how do you build a practice, and things like your client avatar and your origin story, and how to build a sales page, or having a client conversation. And then we have our every other week live mentorship labs. And so during that time, we'll go over the 2 weeks worth of curriculum content and turnkey that we've gone over. And then we'll have these live classes where people ask questions, and we go through case studies, and so there's these three components that are paced out throughout the 6 months, and you can see an example of our schedule here for our next cohort.
Okay. Okay. So, again, if this is something, again, it's only for this isn't for everybody. Um, but if this speaks to you, oh my gosh, if this speaks to you, please, you can learn more at the bonehealthacademy.com. You can take your cell phone and just go to the QR code, and you'll be able to see way more about what it entails. And we also have the whole curriculum, the program, what is it called, Dr. Millman? I'm losing the words, that they can download if they want to see
Oh, our
the
course catalog.
course catalog, so you can see more about that. And anyway, that's all there. And as I said, there's 30 spots. Oh, price. We've tried to keep it as reasonable as we can, but it's a tremendous amount of training. And so and right now we kept it as low as we did for the first cohort, which is $5,000 for the whole thing. And anyway, so yeah, so who is this who's this MDs, DOs, nurse practitioners, NDs, chiropractors, PAs, nurse practitioners, nutritionists, health coaches, someone who has a background to understand all of this. And if you're not sure again, I can meet with you. We can discuss if this is something appropriate. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing because I think this. One other thing. If you have any questions, you can call Lauren at the Millman Clinic, or you can email Dr. Kim at themillmanclinic.com. Speak to one of our advisors. I think that's the end of the slides. Okay, before the Q&A, I'm stopping sharing. We have something really, really, really special. We have three of our practitioners who have finished the program coming. So I'm going to start with Jamie Kraus. Let me pin you, Jamie. Wait, let's see. Actually, I should probably no, I guess I better add pin so she can come up with us. Okay. Jamie, welcome. So good to
Oh,
see you.
hi, thank you so much for asking me to be on. I am so excited to be here and talk with any of your potential uh, new students in your next class. So, what would you like me to talk
I
about?
think why don't you just tell them a little bit about, where you started before
Yeah.
this, like your background, and then, what you're going to do now. So how did this, sort of what you learned and how did this take you from A to B, maybe?
Yeah, great. So, I'm a functional and holistic nutritionist, and my special focus is postmenopausal women. And now my emphasis will be on bone health. So I've been in the nutritional world for, oh gosh, since 2016 when I graduated from the Nutritional Therapy Association. So I've been in it for a while, but I just haven't been actively practicing in the last about 4 to 5 years. So I had a big interest in osteoporosis because I also have a diagnosis of osteoporosis. So I started out finding Dr. Millman's Restore and Rebuild class through Margie and sat in, I believe it was her first class that I was involved in, and then also came back a couple of times for refreshers. And I was just hoping that one day she would do a practitioner's course. So luckily she did. So I can't tell you how amazing this class has been. It's by far been my most favorite class that I've taken over the years. And there's a number of reasons why, but some of the probably the topmost reason are these two women. They are just amazing. And I've been so incredibly grateful to learn from their expertise, their experience, their great depth of knowledge. And it's just been such a robust program. So I had a lot of the functional pieces before with testing, but not necessarily how did those apply to bone health? So that was one of the really big things that was very instrumental to me in not only helping my own personal situation, but making me a much more confident practitioner so that I can go out now and help educate and guide other women in their bone health journeys. So I am just getting the ball rolling with this, and I already have one specific bone health client, so I'm really excited to share so much with her and really pay this forward because I just believe so strongly in this work. And Dr. Millman and Margie have just blessed us with all of the tools to go forward and do it. So I'm just deeply appreciative and really excited for you all if you choose to enroll. So.
Oh, thank you so much. We've been it it's just been so incredible for us to get to know you, Jamie, and we all have this relationship and we learn too. That's what, right, Dr. Millman? Like having these incredible practitioners and it's going to grow. It's just been such a wonderful experience. And I know great things lie ahead. And so, yeah, so you'll have way more than one client soon.
Well, I hope so. That's a start though, right? One.
Yes. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing this. And Jamie and we have two more people who are going to come up. They're going to be in the chat for the next 20 minutes or so. So if you have specific questions or anything,
Yeah.
feel
I'll
free.
hang around.
Yeah, if you
thank
can stay, Jamie. Thank you so much for
Oh,
that.
you're welcome.
Okay, so let's see. Now we have Deanna's going to come up. Let me find you, Deanna.
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Okay.
It feels so normal to be back on a Monday
I know, we
on
just
Zoom.
recently finished,
I
right?
love it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just start kind of where Jamie did.
Yeah, tell us your story and what
Yeah.
yeah.
So, a little over a decade ago, I changed format and went into fitness and nutrition coaching, and through that, decided to get more education with functional nutrition. So, I did that, and then with the organization I was involved in, I saw Margie speak at one of our conferences at
I
HealCon.
don't know what that was.
And
NASD.
it seemed like the perfect marriage between my fitness credentials and my nutrition credentials and the age group I'm working in. I work with midlife women. And then through that, I decided, well, I should go have a DEXA scan. And it turns out I have osteopenia, which was kind of shocking. So I'm like, I lift a lot of weights, I do the things, but now knowing what I know through this course, I understand where that could have taken a turn. And it's just been really, just felt like the right niche for me. So as soon as I knew it was coming, I was all over it. And it's through the course, I have continued to be impressed with the amount of information, the amount of tools. Everything we've received is so on point and makes it so much simpler to get started with our clients so that we're not recreating all these tools or doing these things. And it's just been really extraordinary. I've been very impressed. So happy to have been part of the first cohort and getting started with clients and just doing all the things bone health. I'm loving it.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I just can't wait to hear what all the, this was our dream that we have like, because that was been our mission, but we couldn't do it ourselves. So to have these amazing people that have been part of the program join us. And I know great things lie ahead, Deanna. I'm just so excited.
It's wonderful having you too, Deanna.
So Deanna will also be hanging around for a little bit. Is that okay, Deanna? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we have one more practitioner. We could have had more, but I said, no, no, no. 3 is enough. Let me, thank you so much. Okay, so the next person is Emma. There she is. Okay, Emma,
Hello there.
getting you
I've
on.
missed you. It's so nice to be back. I was like,
We just
yay,
finished.
another chance to hang out with Margie and Jamie and Deanna and Dr. M.
Isn't that
Fantastic.
funny? Because
So
we
yeah.
just finished the program, I mean, not that many weeks ago, because
Yeah,
right?
I know, but it's like, yes, no, it's been fabulous. And then we've got we had the few extras as well afterwards. So, I mean, just to reiterate, really, I mean, I think Deanna and Jamie really hit on so many of the really important points. I mean, for briefly, my background was I started training with Bowman College here in California, Northern California, and became a certified holistic nutritionist. Then I went through what used to be called Restorative Wellness Solutions and is now the Institute for Restorative Health. And I did 3 of their 4 levels. And that has been incredibly helpful because so much of what you guys cover in here is reinforcing what I learned through them as well. I came to the Bone Health Academy because Margie, you were on being interviewed with Margaret Floyd Barry, right, who is the CEO and owner of the Institute for Restorative Health. And it piqued my interest. And at that point, I had not been able to get a DEXA scan. My doctor refused to send me, even though I was 59. And I had been on 10 years of proton pump inhibitors, thanks to my gastroenterologist, who, despite me keep saying to him, surely that I shouldn't be on these all the time, just would say, well, it's better than getting esophageal cancer, isn't it? So that was the answer. Yeah, I know. So thankfully through joining the program, I was able to get Dr. Millman was able to order me a DEXA scan in Berkeley, and sure enough, I have osteopenia. So again, it all made sense to me. And, I just felt like there was a reason that this came into my life at this time. It really is something that I've become very fascinated by. What I would say for perspective, cohort members is this is exceptional value for money, exceptional. I mean, not only do you have Margie and Dr. Millman's so many years of expertise that they share with us in huge depth, but also in a very understandable way as well. And I don't have a medical background. I got into it all because I had a child who had cancer, and so I had to learn to read and understand a lot of medical stuff. But so I think even if, like me, you're a nutritionist and not in the medical field, we did have a number of our cohort members who were in the medical field as well. So it won't be above any of your abilities for sure, but it will really add to the knowledge that you've got, and it really does just funnel down into the root causes and gives you really practical solutions for how to support your clients, in my case, clients, not patients. But what I would also so there's, first of all, I think there's the credibility that we get as practitioners for knowing that, both Dr. Millman and Margie are the two that have put this program together, gives the program and us as practitioners an enormous credibility. But the other thing that I wanted to make note about is the turnkey program. To me, that has been phenomenal. And I think that in and of itself is probably worth $5,000, right? So, I mean, because it literally gives you everything. You don't have to come away from this program and create your own handouts or create your own information. It's all there, put together, ready for you. And that's how generous both Dr. Millman and Margie have been with their knowledge and what they have to share. And that they've basically done it for you. So you have a practice there that is pretty much ready, that once you're in a place to get started, you can just get up and run with it. So I honestly think for $5,000, it's exceptional.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Emma. It's been, as you can see, Dr. Billman and I love all of you. And
Well, we've had such a lovely group of people. It happens to have been all ladies this time. I don't know if you've got any gentlemen here, or anybody else,
there are people in
however
the
anybody
cohort.
identifies, but we all happen to be ladies, and it was a really lovely group. I really felt like a lot of us connected and are keeping in touch outside, and just very, very supportive group as well. So I mean, it's so nice to see Jamie and Deanna here again. So yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and we're going to have an alumni program, so I'll stay in touch, and that's part of it. Well, thank you so much for being here. And is it okay to stay if people have questions in the
Yes,
chat?
absolutely, 100%.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's say, all right, Dr. Millman, now we're ready for questions. So before we do the questions, just some rules that it has to pertain to this webinar, number one. Number two, just ask one question because we want to get as many questions as possible answered. And anything else, Dr. Millman, about this?
So just to remind people, I can't give medical advice, and so, if you're kind of wondering what to do with a lab interpretation, just get straight to that lab interpretation and don't give all the surrounding details about my T-score is this. I went to see the rheumatologist there, and that rheumatologist won't do anything for me. I mean, we understand like how frustrating some of this can be, but if you want some help in interpreting some of the labs, then I don't mind doing that. But yeah, let's just make it as general as possible.
And we're going to try to keep it under 3 minutes a person, just so we get as many questions answered as possible. So I'm going to just change this so the speaker view, and I'm going to remove.
And I've been going like crazy in the chat too, so I've answered a lot of questions already.
You know what happened to me? I didn't want to touch the video, so I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But I think
Can I just say one other thing, by the way? Sorry, I forgot to mention Paula. I'm sorry, it's my husband.
Paula, let's hear it for Paula, everybody.
Yeah, sorry. So Paula, yes.
Thank you, Emma.
Yes, apologies, Paula. I meant to mention you as well. Paula is phenomenal as well. I'm a technophobe and she's very patient with me. And so she's also, she's kind of like the backbone between Margie and Dr. Millman in terms of holding it all together in the middle there, aren't you, Paula? So
she is.
Paula,
I'll
yeah,
try.
we couldn't do it without you, Paula. So thank you so much.
We
Sorry,
call her
Marty, didn't mean to
we call her
interrupt you.
our everything girl.
Yes, she is. I might need to hire her for my website.
That's
We'll see.
accurate. Do it.
Yeah, remember we said you should.
I know, but I don't know. She seems so busy with all of this going on, and then if you've got your next cohort starting, but we'll see. That's another matter anyway.
Well,
Just
you'll
focus
just
on
have
this.
to talk with her.
I will. I'll give her a call. Don't you worry. I've got your number, Paula. Be careful.
Yes. All right, Dr. Millman. So I have these.
Okay, so let's start with Martha.
Hi, Dr. Mellon. Thanks for taking my question.
Sure.
I'm interested in the low turnover osteoporosis in the interpretation of CTX and the P1NP. If they are in the appropriate ratio, say 200 CTX and 20 P1NP, why do you continue to get bone loss? So it's more the interpretation of those two values,
Yeah,
especially in the face of low turnover
yeah.
osteoporosis.
So, optimal is 250 to 350. So 200 isn't all that abnormal. And that's one thing that I think about too is like how abnormal is abnormal, right? 200 compared to 250, not all that bad. 100, 100 is definitely low turnover. Low turnover states tend to be associated with low metabolic states, and some of these low metabolic states can be related to the root causes. So, low metabolic states are things like low iron, low protein, low thyroid, sluggish liver, blood sugar irregularities. So, all those things have relationships to the root causes as well, and they're potentially driving the low turnover too. So, and then the other thing too is that when you look at the bone turnover markers and you go, wow, okay, so my bone turnover markers are my CTX is optimal, my P1NP is appropriate or even better. My bones should be stable. We don't know how long the bone turnovers have been stable, and it takes about a year to 2 years to really start to make some gain and takes at least a year to become stable. So you don't know if if the bone turnover markers aren't in between having some ups and downs. So it's not about it's like the bone turnover markers are a snapshot, but it is about stability over time because the bones turn over so slow. Does
So
that make sense?
yeah, it does. So if your markers are stable and you think they're in a good range, then continuing what you're doing and hoping for improvement in the DEXA scan in 1 or 2 years, is that sort of what you're talking about?
Yeah, and I mean, what I would say would be, and this is a little bit advanced for probably this talk, but if I have to think about things where, um, what are the actual factors that really move the needle as far as increasing bone density? I'm thinking exercise, dealing with the hyperparathyroidism. Um, and also a low protein and hormones and meds. So those are the things that really absolutely move the needle as far as increasing bone mineral density. Now, the other things, all the other root cause factors like inflammation and blood sugar, et cetera, they're more about stability. So they can't be ignored. But the real needle movers are exercise and hormones. So if a person is exercising and has some kind of hormonal support, then and their CTX is stable, I'm feeling much better about them actually seeing an improvement on their next DEXA scan. But of course, we do have to understand that stability is still success because the natural course of bone loss is to get worse.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Risa?
Hi, thanks so much for doing this. This might be more of a basic question, but
It's fine.
what should people be aware of when they're getting their first DEXA scan? Thought I heard you say at one point there were like two types of equipment and different locations that people might.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So there's something called the trabecular bone score, and it's called TBS, and it's always best. It's a measure of quality. So as you might know, your strength is related to your density plus your quality. So when you get a DEXA with a TBS, you've got your T score, which is density, and then you've got your TBS, which is quality. So it gives you a better idea of your strength. So it's better to get a DEXA with a TBS. However, if you've already been getting DEXAs on one machine, then what will happen is as you go from one machine to another, there is an amount of error that is associated with just switching machines. There is more error it related to if you went from like a Hologic Discovery to a Lunar Prodigy. There is more error in that. But just being in a different facility and even having a different Lunar Prodigy still induces some error. Now, for me, when my patients they say, "Yeah, should I go back to the same one so we have an apple to apple comparison, or should I go to the TBS?" I usually recommend to my patients that they go to the TBS and that we accept the amount of uncertainty there's going to be by switching.
So it's better to have both of
The
those.
TBS
Yeah,
is really helpful.
yeah. And do they just
Another thing that
yeah.
people don't really think about is that um, and I don't know if this is, I know that it's for the day of the test, but I don't know if it's for like a day or two before two. You shouldn't take calcium supplements because they will actually show up in the DEXA. Margie, do you know if I know it's the day of, but do you know if it's the day before and the day before? Oh, you're muted, Margie.
I think it's at least 24 hours, but I'm not sure if it's
Yeah,
48. It
that
might
sounds
be
reasonable.
48 hours too. There's so
Yeah.
many
So
numbers.
that's something to ask the people at the facility about the length of time. But some people don't realize that they shouldn't take calcium for a couple of days.
That's good to know. And are there certain locations that they scan typically, and what locations would you recommend be scanned?
It's pretty standard that they're going to scan the lumbar spine, which is the L1 to L4 vertebrae. And then they're going to scan the hip, either one hip or both hips, and then potentially the forearm. So those are the locations that they scan.
I
Okay.
think it's important to get both hips done because sometimes something happens to a hip. Someone has a total hip or they have something down the road. And so I think every time, I know when I went the first time they did both hips and they go, oh, we only do one. So you have to ask. And I think it's good to get as many sites as possible because sometimes the spine may not be accurate if you have arthritis or something. So I think
Yeah.
it's good if you can get the forearm too, just gives you additional information, so you have to ask.
You can't ask the radiologist. You have to ask your doctor because your doctor is the one that has to request it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, Jamie is saying that her lab says 24 hours to be off calcium. That sounds about right. Okay. Yes, this is true. Not all facilities offer the TBS. It's quite difficult to find a DEXA with a TBS.
But what you do is if you go Google the TBS, you'll find, I think it's Medimaps it's called. You'll find facilities that have it. And I'm soon going to be interviewing someone from them. Supposedly they're going to have a lot more facilities and they've even improved the TBS. So I think lots of good things are happening and they're getting more facilities all over. So hopefully good things.
I would just say, so I have scoliosis and the TBS score. In fact, I think Dr. Millman, you said mine was the worst TBS score you'd ever seen, right? And we think that was due to the fact that I have scoliosis at L2. So you do have to, like you were saying, you've got to take all these things with a bit of a pinch of salt in terms of where you actually are, depending on what else you have going on. And then there's also the REM scans as well, which if you do have scoliosis or something like that, can perhaps be more valid.
Yeah, so the REMS is ultrasound technology, and it is not affected by the positioning of the spine on the table. So with a DEXA scan, the spine needs to be centered on the table and straight. And with people who have scoliosis, that's just not possible. And so the REMS it is not dependent upon that. And so that is one of the situations in which a REMS would be really helpful to have as well as a DEXA, but I would never forego doing a DEXA.
And someone in the chat said that Dr. Keith McCormick is someone that we are very close to, both Dr. Millman and I. So you're saying he said that it's 48 hours. So I think some certain facilities, it's definitely between 24 and 48. You go with your facility, what they're recommending.
Oh, so Wendy is saying even if you go to the facility with a TBS, just confirm that they're going to do the TBS.
Yeah, right. Even if you see it on the website, that happened to me the first time, where I actually went a half hour, and when I got there, they're like, "Oh, we don't do this." So you want to definitely confirm that call the place, make sure, and yeah.
Yeah,
Margie,
we actually had a list of something like 20 facilities in the Bay Area, and we ended up with like 4 or 5. Like we called them all,
Yep.
and 4 or 5 of them were actually real.
I would also say to have your doctor ask for the TBS, because if you just go in and you assume because it's a TBS facility that you'll actually get that. I called up where I was going to go get my DEXA, and I said I just want to make sure I'm gonna also get a TBS score, and I was told, well, you have to have your doctor send us an order, so just make sure that you do that as well.
And the doctors are happy to do that. That's not something
Yeah.
they complain about at all.
Well, doctors that know about it.
But if you ask, they're like, sure.
So we have someone who was just listing their name as N. You can unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead. So I can go ahead and while N is trying to get her audio figured out, I can talk about Barbara's question. What if the DEXA and the REM scores differ greatly? This is a problem, and I see it often. So really, you can't compare a DEXA to a REMS or a REMS to a DEXA. And if they do differ, then I mean, the DEXA is the gold standard. And I think that I trust the fragility score in the REMS more than the T score in the REMS. So if I have a DEXA that shows a T score of, let's say, negative 3.0, and the REMS fragility score is really good, then I think the answer is somewhere in between. It's not, that person's bones are not as bad as the DEXA would imply when the fragility score is as good as it is. So that's the way I look at it. I look at the answer as being somewhere in between. But I don't usually just look at the T score of the REMS. I'm really looking at the fragility score, because that's that's quality as well. What is REMS? So that is an ultrasound technology to look at the bone quality and the bone density. It's like radio frequency. Oh, I can't even remember.
Electromagnetic spectrography or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go. She gets extra credit. She always gets extra credit.
I have to just say something. There's a good point, iPad said in the in the
Yeah.
chat. And more facilities are making TBS available because insurance companies are starting to reimburse for them. And actually in May, I'm going to go to the conference, the osteoporosis conference. And last year they were saying it's like insurance is covering it. So I think lots of good things more are happening with TBS. But thank you for saying that. That's so true. Anyone else have raised hands? Let's see.
Okay, there's N. Have you been able to figure out your audio?
Is N's picture here? I can unmute N if we need to. And write in the chat if you need to be unmuted or something.
Yeah, so this person in the chat is saying that you can retroactively get the TBS. This is true, but in practicality, it's a little harder to do than you would expect. I've tried to do this, and then they've said they can't do it. Yeah, in practicality, it's a little bit harder than you would think. All right, we're usually just completely inundated with questions.
Okay, did we get everything?
I think I answered a lot of the questions in the chat while we were doing the talk.
Works so well. Okay, does anybody have any other questions about the program? Anything? Risa, did you have another question?
I have another question. It's not about the program, but if someone's on a high oxalate diet, can you counteract? Well, obviously, they need to have the 24-hour urine oxalate to see if it's a problem, right? And then can you counteract with supplementation of minerals for any problem that may be created with the oxalates, the high oxalates?
Yeah, I mean, I think that so when you think about the oxalate situation, you have to think about how much oxalates is in the person's diet. So I usually have a person go to Chronometer and try to figure that out. Anything over 250 milligrams of oxalates is hard for the body to get rid of. So it starts to accumulate over 250 milligrams a day. A half a cup of spinach is like 750 milligrams. So if somebody's eating spinach and almond milk in their smoothies every day, that's a potential problem and just accumulating oxalates. And then there are some specific symptoms that are related to oxalates. And so, how many of these symptoms does a person have? There's some things about symptoms like, are they migratory? Are they multisystem? Do they, the bladder and the kidneys, obviously kidney stones are oxalate driven. And so you look at the diet, you look at the symptom profile, and then the whether or not and I think those are the two biggest things I do. But if you look at the 24-hour urine oxalates and they're high, then that gives you kind of confirmatory data. But you can do it without it. You can empirically reduce the oxalates in the diet and also compensate for the minerals that are going to get leached out. So the minerals that are getting leached out are a lot of the ones that you need: calcium, magnesium, potassium, zinc, iron. And another big one is B6. So one of the things you can do is you can add a little bit of extra calcium citrate if you're going to have a meal that has high oxalates in it. You can add lemon juice. You can add lemon juice to like water and have that. Some people who are worried about enamel in their teeth might drink the lemon juice through a straw. And so you can, so it's actually kind of a bigger it's not as cut and dry as you might think. But if somebody's a vegetarian, then they've got a high reason, for having oxalate toxicity, and taking B6 can absolutely help with oxalate toxicity symptoms. And the other thing is bile nutrients. So you have to have good bile flow, because if you don't, then what can happen is that the fats that you should be absorbing through bile can go into the gut and can complex with the calcium, and then now it makes these soapy calcium stones, and then the oxalates are still there, and they're able to absorb easier. So it is absolutely related to bile flow as well. So
Yeah.
it's a complicated issue.
Yeah. I mean, I know this person has a diet very high in oxalates. She doesn't have any symptoms though.
So, well, I don't think it's a great idea to, um, so what I would tell a patient of mine is, like, try to reduce the very, very, very highs. So spinach, Swiss chard, beet greens, almonds, rhubarb, like this little star fruits. I might be missing a couple. But these are like the really, really, really high highs. Swiss chard and beet greens and spinach are really, really, really high. So, I don't think there's any reason why somebody needs to be eating those greens all the time. They can just sub in the low oxalate greens, bok choy, arugula, the lettuces. If somebody can switch from almonds over to pistachios and pumpkin seeds and those kinds of things, and just do those lateral substitutions. But it also is not a good idea to abruptly decrease the amount of oxalates in a diet, because you can dump, and dumping causes symptoms.
What about kale?
Uh, I always forget. Emma, you might remember this. What is it? Lucinado is the one
Yeah.
that is.
The Lucinto kale. Yeah. I don't
Lucinto
think,
is
I
the
think
good
they were all
one or the
right.
bad one?
Kale's
I
not
think they
very
were both
high.
reasonably.
Hmm?
I thought both were reasonably okay. Maybe
Yeah, they're not like they're not in the
they're
college.
like spinach and almonds and
Yeah,
that kind of stuff that are really super high.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
but so Dr. Millman covers the whole oxalate thing. There's a whole unit on that in the materials that we are given, that we study on our own, right? And then you do one of the live webinars covers all of that in detail as well. So there's, plus you give all the handouts that you give that you can then use with your clients, which is all the, a complete list broken down of all the oxalates that are super high and all the way through. So again, just goes to show how comprehensive it all is, really.
I'm sure.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
You
I.
know,
So there's some kale that are low, and then there's some kale that's high. So I never remember which one's which, because I don't like kale. So
Okay. So if there's no symptoms, would you still recommend then they do the testing, the 24-hour urine oxalate testing if there's no symptoms?
if there's no symptoms, what I would do, for a patient of mine in this situation would be to do a measurement of how much oxalates are in the diet. And if it's really high, it's causing inflammation, it's causing leaching of minerals. And if there's bone loss, it could be one of the driving factors.
the thing
Okay.
that we've seen, both Dr. Millman and I, people in the community, when they learn about this, and and you can't reduce oxalates so quickly, you have to do it gradually, but right, so many why don't you share, you had some patients, some people in the classes actually. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not something you can ignore, because certain people really do have symptoms that they've never attributed to. I mean, tell them that's a few years, it's unbelievable. the
Yeah,
next.
I mean, people who have had chronic UTIs and were on antibiotics all the time, and it ended up being oxalate toxicity. People who have had like joint pain that was unresolved and migratory have been resolved. So yeah, it can cause a lot of inflammation, and they're like these little shards of glass that are tiny itty bitty little things, and they lodge everywhere in the eyes. I mean, they lodge everywhere.
Okay, there's 4 hands raised still.
Thank you.
You see that?
Okay, Janet?
Here, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, good, good. Okay, so I put this in the chat, but I'll ask it now. Is the TBS accurate if we have scoliosis of the spine or arthritis of the spine? And does it also, the TBS, reflect hip quality too? Because I know it's just for the spine, and that's not that helpful if you have a hip problem. I don't,
No, but
that's
TBS is
crazy.
only for the spine. It's not for the hip.
But it would have
And
no reflection of bone quality for any other part of the body?
that's correct.
Well,
That's correct.
that doesn't
And
help that much then.
well, see, I think I'm not altogether sure whether if you have a garbage data set for the vertebrae, whether the TBS is it's kind of based on garbage, but I think Margie talked to somebody from Medimaps and they said it's accurate. But I mean, can you talk about that, Margie? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I met the person, and I'm going back there in a couple of weeks in May, but and I'm supposed to interview someone on the podcast, so I'll have a lot more information on the TBS in general. Um, but they've done so many things on the TBS, and I think now there's something that they're even making it more accurate if people do have scoliosis and things. So right now there's new advances on it, but don't quote me. But I think the thing is also somebody has quality, in general, it affects what you eat. People who are not having protein or not having, vitamin C. There's a lot of things that affects the bone quality. And so if we're seeing, sometimes you can have a DEXA, 2 people with the same DEXA, but one TBS is really poor quality and one isn't. And so that, sure, you can still, overall, there's not going to be that your spine is horrible quality and your hips amazing quality. That's very rare. But I think it's a good point to speak to the TBS people and
Yeah. And I
really.
also wondered if the TBS typically would decline, like bone quality, does that decline similarly to the T-score declining with age, especially if you're not doing much to help your bone health? Is it usually a trend downward of bone quality?
I think that the usual natural course is for the bones to get worse, both strength and quality.
Okay.
But I would say that all depends on, your exercise level, just like Margie said,
Right.
protein levels, and even many more nutrients like zinc and boron and silica. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of other nutrients will have an effect on the quality of the bone. But a lot of that is that push and pull mechanical, structural thing that is the exercise is really, really important for quality.
Right.
And I
So,
think to
Doc-
say on a good note, exciting note, because I'm very involved with, I personally do a lot of strength training in the neonero, and everybody's bone density is increasing. I mean, this is, it's a whole complex integrative approach. It's not just, but it's amazing. So I think it's so exciting. And when people who are couch potatoes aren't, I mean, that's what I always say. It's an opportunity, a diagnosis, because people can look at their life, see what they're missing, and then add these pieces. So people who've had digestive issues for years, who've had all sorts of things going on, now they're addressing them. So yeah, it could get much better, the quality, because they've addressed these underlying root
Right.
causes that will affect both strength and, both quality and density. So
And do you guys know the optimal range for TBS?
Um,
I'm gonna do more research about
1.3 2 or I mean, it's like one. No.
I got a 1.4, but again, I'm questioning if
Oh,
it's,
that's good.
but I question if it's the spine scoliosis situation, like, is it really
So
valid or not?
Well, stay
Janet,
tuned.
I had scoliosis, as I mentioned, and I also had the REMS done, which made me feel slightly more reassured about
Right.
my bone quality. So I think if if you do have scoliosis, as I think as Dr. Millman mentioned earlier on, if you have the opportunity to also have REMS done and then have a look at both that combined, because the other thing with the DEXA is even with the bone mineral density, if you've got scoliosis or arthritis or any of those things, you can't even necessarily count on your bone mineral density being accurate because
Right.
it could be falsely elevated, right? So, so I do think all of these, and this is what they cover in the course, is that these are useful tools, but they're not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
And that all the other things do feed into it no matter what. And yes, I think as we age, particularly for women, as we lose our estrogen, etc., and if we're not on menopausal hormone therapy, that we probably should expect that yes, our bones will be declining in both
Right.
density and quality, but then all the other things that we do, and whether we can get a really absolutely accurate or clear result on our DEXA or our REMS, if we assume that we are somewhat declining anyway, that putting into place all the sort of holistic root cause approaches to supporting bone can only bring about some benefits, I would say.
And I've already scheduled a REMS, so I'm heading in
Great,
that direction.
fantastic.
Yep.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the webinar and all this great information.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Tish?
Hi, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I put it in the chat, but I live in Ontario, Canada, and I have an endocrinologist and GP, and the tests that you mentioned, like they'll do very, very few of those. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, if any.
Yeah, so I mean, yes, I've had people in R&R who are from Canada. We actually have one of our students just finished the training. She's Canadian. And so it is an issue. And I don't think there's any direct-to-consumer testing in Canada. So I don't know that though.
Would a functional medicine doctor in
Yeah,
Canada
a
be able to
functional
do that?
medicine doctor should, yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
say, my daughter was seeing a functional medicine doctor in Canada because we liked the person, but he was ordering the GI map, everything. So somehow they seem to be doing a lot of, I can share that name if somebody wants. So, yeah.
So I only know one functional doctor here in Ottawa, where I am, and I don't know about anybody else, but they're extremely expensive. I don't know in the States if they're expensive, but
Oh,
it's
he's
extremely
in
expensive.
Toronto, the person I know. Um, if that would help.
Sure, you can put it here,
Okay.
give me his name or put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks.
And so Nancy is saying if you can order from Avexia, then the test can be ordered. I don't think Avexia is in Canada though, Nancy.
No, Vexi is not in Canada, but as an NTP in Canada, I can order any test I want from Avexia that's available. I can order it from the US.
Oh, you can?
Yep, I can order the GI map. I can order, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with all the tests that you've listed, but there are quite a few tests. I mean, I can order all kinds of tests. Whatever they have on Avexia, I can order.
Interesting. So that may be the case of our Canadian, Canadian graduate. and maybe she could, once we have, we're going to have a directory practitioner when we get a few more people who have graduated, and then we're going to start giving that data out so and we do have one person who's almost ready to graduate from Canada. So that's going to be a resource for people once we get to that point.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Here's Margie is saying Dr. Eric Mardson Clinic in Toronto.
He's very reasonable. He is not expensive. He sees people, virtually as well, but he's very reasonable. Like I don't think he's expensive at all compared to
So
other.
Cindy, we'll be offering this again in it's a 6-month long course. So it's probably the next cohort is going to be in the spring of 2027.
Anyway, we're only going to take Dr. Millman and I have made something because we can be on for hours and hours. So we always cut it off in 2 hours so we can maintain our own sanity. So is there any other last question? This is
Well,
the
we've
last.
got N again trying.
N, where's N? N just.
The Q&A will be.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Risa.
Oh, we hear you, N. Yay. Okay.
Okay, great. Sorry, I had to switch to my iPhone. My question is about how you would address low free testosterone and DHEAS in a postmenopausal woman who has a CTX of just over 500 and is on estradiol and progesterone.
Well, so the first thing that I do when I have a patient who is interested in hormones is I risk stratify them. So I make sure that it's safe for them to get hormones. And then I analyze how many years it's been since their final menstrual period and also how old they are and their target bone specific hormone values would be different. So they would have an aggressive target if they were younger, and they would have a conservative target if they were older. So those are all very specific to what I've developed over the last couple of decades as far as those bone specific targets. And so what I would do is once I've stratified someone who is interested in hormones and it looks like it would be safe for them to start hormones, if I had a person on estradiol and progesterone and the person's free testosterone was low, then I would need to know what the sex hormone binding globulin is because that could be one of the reasons why free testosterone is low. But if DHEA is low, then there's always this relationship between DHEA and cortisol. So if because the adrenals are producing both DHEA and cortisol. So let's say the cortisol is really high, the person's adrenals doesn't have the reserve actually to be able to produce DHEA. DHEA is just a supplement. Again, that person needs to be risk stratified, but the first thing I do is add a little bit of DHEA. DHEA is the dose for a woman is much different than a dose for a man. Doses for women are very low, like 5 and 10 milligrams once to twice a day. And so then I would start my patient on a little bit of DHEA and 2 months later, I would check her testosterone. I would check this sex hormone binding globulin first and see if that's not high. And I also want to know what her total testosterone is as well. Only if after supplementing with DHEA would I supplement with testosterone.
Yeah, the sex hormone binding globulin is in the upper end of the range.
Yeah.
It's not high, but it is in the upper end.
Yeah.
And this is in a 57-year-old woman.
Yeah, that's young.
So you would start off with DHEA and then
I would risk stratify to make sure that it's safe to start off with DHEA, but that's
okay.
what I do, right? I'm always risk stratifying.
And
All right.
and you use that instead of testosterone replacement. Is
Well,
that
DHEA is the precursor to estradiol and testosterone. So I want to see whether or not, and a lot of women actually feel better on DHEA. It helps with fatigue and can help with a lot of the symptoms that a woman has. So basically, I start with DHEA and see if that doesn't boost testosterone up enough.
okay? Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
There's only one more
Okay.
thing. I
So
guess
one more,
and then
which
we're Barbara.
is Barbara. So close us out, Barbara. Oh, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to know, beyond a functional medicine doctor, I have a couple questions. I'll make it fast. What's the best type of doctor to see? Would an endocrinologist? Because there's no real doctor that just specializes in that. Would an endo or an orthopedic, or does that matter?
Well,
And
so it kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for getting the right testing, then sometimes primary care will do parts of it. Endocrinology will definitely do parts of it. And then there may be some things that you're left over where you need to do direct to consumer. Or you usually, if you have a functional medicine doctor that is actually trained as an expert in bone health, which well, that's one of our missions is to get more practitioners trained. So if so those would be the best people to get on board. Naturopaths and functional medicine doctors who are bone specific. But again, you may have to parse it all out. Right?
yes, also maybe a gynecologist too, and
Yeah, I mean, a
hormones.
gynecologist, yeah, gynecologist, endocrinologist, primary care, you kind of start there. And then, you'll get the replay on this so you can write all the things and I mean, an endocrinologist is going to get PTH and 24-hour calcium and vitamin D and calcium, right? Usually.
Also, just quickly here, what's the ideal estrogen level for a postmenopausal woman around in the late 60s? And also, what is more
20 to
important
35.
pardon me?
20 to 35
Okay, and
picograms
also,
per
what
mil.
is more important level? Is the estrogen or testosterone for bone health for a woman? Or both.
Estradiol is anti-resorptive, and testosterone is bone building, and progesterone is bone building. So they're
What
both
is
important.
okay?
So
What
if you have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone in a woman's regimen, it's better than estradiol by itself. And
okay?
each layer is better and better and better as far as building.
If
So
a postmenopausal woman goes on an estrogen patch and ends up having a period, is that a sign that the estrogen is too high?
compared to progesterone usually. So usually it means that the progesterone is too low.
Okay, okay.
Or the ratio, right? The ratio is like the estrogen's a little higher, progesterone's a little lower, needs to be a little more balanced, right? So you can either bring the estrogen down or you can bring the progesterone up.
Okay, and one last thing, what is a good testosterone level?
40.
Does 40, does that create manly features of,
No.
voice lowering or other type of
No, that's not usual. That's not usually what happens. Excess testosterone can be acne and facial hair and a little bit of aggressiveness, and loss of hair that can be excess testosterone. But you have to get so there's a 10-to-1 ratio between a man's testosterone level and a woman's testosterone level. So like if I'm trying to get a woman's testosterone level to 40, then a man's equivalent will be 400. And usually I'm trying to like a younger man's testosterone level is something like 750 to 1,000. Right. So some woman who has a testosterone level of 40, that is not going to be masculine masculinizing.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing this, by the way.
You're very welcome.
Wait, so let me just get back.
Okay, guys. So glad you all
everybody,
could make it.
thanks for staying on with us, and thank you to the practitioners for coming and staying. And thank you, everybody. And feel free to reach out if you are interested and have questions. I'm happy to meet specifically with you if you have any, just reach out and just write to support at the bonehealthacademy.com, or we can talk, or you want to give the link again for Lauren too at your clinic?
For Lauren, like for my, so it could be
Or I guess they could reach out. It's on it's I think that's the best part, is to support at the bonehealthacademy.com, or just reply to any of the emails that you get if you have any questions.
yeah,
That's your best bet.
absolutely.
And you can always schedule. I'm happy to
Yeah.
talk to you, or if you want to talk to a practitioner longer, just let us know. And yeah, we are so excited to start cohort number 2. We've already missed cohort number 1, but we're going to stay in touch with everybody. So it's so good. So anyway, we hope this helped, regardless of anything you could take out of this. I mean, that's our goal. Our goal is really just to really make a difference with osteoporosis. And we know we can. So anything that you can do as a practitioner with your clients and patients is just wonderful. And for those who feel drawn to this, we'd love to have you. It would be our pleasure.
All right.
Right.
So good to have you all here, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, everybody.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, let's save the chat here. Okay, meeting chat. Why can't I save the chat? Okay, here we go. Can you save it too, Paula, just so we have it? Yes, okay, great. Okay, so I will end this and send it to you, okay?